Detroit, Michigan airport in 1971. Srila Prabhupada had become ill, and he had returned to India. And when his health was better, in the middle of 1971, he came back to America to resume his preaching work. And many of us had come to Krishna consciousness, but we'd never seen our spiritual master. But we'd heard about our spiritual master. And we all felt his qualities are so ideal. And this chanting is so ideal. Somehow or other, let me come to this process, and maybe I can develop even the smallest fraction of qualities like our spiritual master. So we were gathered together in Detroit, and perhaps there were 250 of us in the airport. Back then, we didn't have terrorism problems. We really didn't have any problems. 50 years ago, the world was quite a simple place. So we went right in. And we were having Kirtan just like we had Kirtan tonight. And it was really beautiful Kirtan. And we were anticipating our Guru Maharaj coming up from the airplane. So his airplane landed. It pulled up to the terminal. He had to walk down some steps and come through a door. And then the passengers on the aircraft, they started coming up the steps. And they were all like coming up, and their eyes were getting really big, like, what is going on here? Because back then, no one had any idea who we were. They probably thought that we were people from the moon. We were so unknown at that time. And then one man came up the steps, and he saw the devotees, and he heard the chanting, and he got a big smile on his face. And he went like this. And the next thing we knew is we saw the golden head of our spiritual master emerging. And then we saw the rustle of his, saffron cloth. And we saw his cane coming out. And then finally, Srila Prabhupada, he stepped up to the top of the steps, and he just looked at all of us with a smile from here to here. He was so happy to see that people were taking up Sanatana Dharma. He was so happy. And he was so happy to see that people were faithful in chanting Hare Krishna. And when he stepped into the hall, all of us young people, we just, boom, we went to the floor and we made Dandavat. And we came up, and really when most of us came up, we were happy, we were singing Hare Krishna, we were dancing, and we were weeping all at the same time. Everything mixed into one pot. And Srila Prabhupada, he was such an affectionate person that when he stepped out, the senior members of our society, who, they were very old. They were probably 25 or 26. They were greeting Srila Prabhupada, and he was inquiring about their well-being. He specifically asked about Jagadish. Jagadish had become very, very skinny, super skinny. And Prabhupada inquired of him, why are you so skinny? And he said, Prabhupada, this management is not my cup of tea, it's taking everything out of me. Srila Prabhupada said, do not worry, just chant Hare Krishna. And then one of the devotees looked at my spiritual master in the middle of the airport and said, Srila Prabhupada, could you sit down and give a class in the airport? And Srila Prabhupada said, certainly, why not? Just like I was speaking to Amrita Keli Mataji before, and we were reminiscing how Srila Prabhupada always told us, if a person has prana in their body, they must speak about Krishna. If prana is there, you must share about Krishna. Prabhupada said, yes, I will sit down. So the devotees from the temple, they had brought a big seat for Prabhupada to sit on. And that seat was probably as big as this divan, and 5 people were sitting over here. It was all decorated, covered with flowers. Were you there, Mataji, in Detroit? It was so glorious. And Srila Prabhupada sat down. They put garland on Srila Prabhupada. And then one devotee came with a big plate of Maha Prasadam from the temple. And he said, please, Srila Prabhupada, you take Prasadam. I remember this is the first time I'm ever seeing my spiritual master. Probably the first time I'm ever seeing anyone from India. Prabhupada, he picked up one grape and tossed his head back. He went. And when I saw that, I went, oh my God. That is so cosmic. And then Srila Prabhupada requested his cup for drinking, and he held his cup way over his head, poured the water in his mouth. Now he's going, oh my God, what is going on here? Then Srila Prabhupada, he sang Jaya Radha Madhava, and then Srila Prabhupada began to speak. So here I am, first time I'm ever meeting my spiritual master. He begins to lecture, and he spoke for about 20 minutes. But I could not understand a word he was saying, because he spoke with a very Bengali British accent. I couldn't figure out anything. And I was becoming a little nervous. What is he saying? What is he saying? And then at a certain point, Srila Prabhupada, he stopped, and there was silence. And then Srila Prabhupada said, please believe me when I tell you, you are not the body. And he was silent. And then he said, please believe me when I tell you, you are not the body. And then he was silent. And then he repeated, 3rd time, please believe me when I tell you, you are not the body. And then Srila Prabhupada said, I have had realization of this. Thank you very much. And at that point, Srila Prabhupada just got up, and he strode out of the airport and sat down in a car, and the devotees drove him to the temple in Detroit. So that's a message that we should all take home. It's Krishna calling. Bangsiwala is here in Gurugram. That's a message, that's a lesson that all of us should take home and try to understand. None of us are these bodies. Neither are we the gross outside body, being American or Indian or man or woman or Hindu or Muslim. We're not these bodies. Nor are we the subtle body within, which is the mind, intelligence, the ego. But our true position is that we are the spiritual soul, the Atma. And Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, Mame Vangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Anakshastan Indriyani Prakriti Ishtani Karshati. Krishna tells us every living being in this world and all of the 84 lakh species of life, they are a part of me. That means that my nature is not just to be an old American man, but my nature is that I'm eternal. You're not just a young Indian girl, you're the eternal soul. You're the eternal soul also. This sings really wonderfully. Wasn't he singing nice this evening? So Krishna says, Mame Vangsa, they're all my anshas. They're all my parts. Jiva Loki, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. But then he says, Manak Shastan Indriyani Prakritishnani Karshiti. He says, but when they live in Prakritistan, meaning this material world, always they're undergoing a hard struggle with the mind and senses. My dear ladies and gentlemen, we cannot escape it unless we become Krishna conscious. Our real nature, we're eternal. Krishna's real nature is he is eternal. He is full of knowledge. And he is always in ecstasy. Satchidananda Vigraha. Similarly, because you and you and you and you, you're all part of Krishna, your actual nature is Satchidananda Vigraha. But sadly, now we identify with this material nature. So the process of waking up from this dream that we are something material is this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Chanting the holy name will cleanse the dirt from our consciousness. Chanting of the holy name will diminish the tribulations of this world. And chanting of the holy name will cause the lotus of our hearts to open and we can experience pure praying. We can experience pure love. Not the self-serving love that you see so many people in this world speak about, but real selfless love. That is the goal of our life. So please take this home tonight. Please take home chanting Hare Krishna is the process for awakening prema. Chanting Hare Krishna is the process for you to understand that you're not the body, that you're not the mind, but you're the eternal servant of Krishna.